Which leads us nicely onto Liverpool and Ben Woodburn. Let's hear from Chris. He's a big fan of Ben Woodburn. He's a Liverpool fan as well.
Our secret is out. Ben Woodburn, the Prince of Wales, has burst onto the international scene and scored his first goal. We first saw Ben in pre-season at the beginning of last season, and we could tell at the time he was a really exciting player. We even looked a little bit poorer when he came out of the side. He then went into the League Cup and became our youngest ever competitive scorer. Klopp says he can play central midfield, wide, and he scores goals, so he definitely can play through the middle. Who knows how far his talent will stretch, but to do that he needs to be developed in the right way, because there's nothing more exciting than seeing a young player come through. Michael, how do you think is best to handle his development?
I thought I was out of a job until I realised he was reading that. What do you think? How do you best handle that development?
He's a good player. I've watched him for 4 or 5 years in the junior youth teams at Liverpool. I don't think he's a centre forward. He did play in the youth team as centre forward, but I don't think he's a centre forward. It was probably because Liverpool didn't have a top centre forward at the time. I think he's more of like a Lallana-y type of attacking midfielder. Finds pockets, very clever, got a little burst of speed, can score a goal. He's intelligent, you know. He's. Do you know, I see some players and they come on and they score a goal and everyone says, oh, you know, brilliant, I can't. But you watch them and you know they're only okay. This kid can play. He is exciting for the future.
And how do you deal with the comparisons? Does it bother you? Do you like it? I know it frustrates the hell out of Rio, doesn't it, Rio?
Yeah. You can't compare these young boys nowadays to what Michael Owen was doing. We mentioned it before in the game. The same age as Rashford. He'd won 2 golden boots in the Premier League, scored 50 goals. Rashford's got 20. They're great young players, these boys, but people seem to forget, and it's half disrespectful in my eyes when you start comparing. Even you look at the likes of Mbappe. If he's going for that type of money now, what would he be going for?
He's my best mate.
It's a joke. No, I get frustrated because people forget. They forget too quickly what certain players are doing. And when he came on, the same with Rooney when they first burst on the scene. You don't get them. You don't get them all the time. And as I said, these guys have got a lot to do before they listen. They've got the potential. Woodburn's got huge potential. He looks a fantastic talent. Rashford, I love this kid. I think he's going to go on and be a fantastic player. But right now, let him breathe.
It's the potential of the talent that you can see that they have got. It's not if they've got it, you can see they've got it. It's the consistency. Over the years, this fella did it time and time, and the top players do it consistently.
Yeah.
You know, and that's we can't judge them yet on that because that's in the years to come. That's the future. But they look as if they've got this kid is. For me, what I've seen of him, I haven't seen that much as much as mine. He's got a wonderful first touch, and he puts the ball exactly where it needs to be. That is a massive advantage for any player, let alone a young kid. Doesn't matter. That puts you in another level. And if he continue, he won't lose that touch. He'll only get that. But he'll get better with more confidence. But he'll come up against players that once he gets a reputation, he'll have to find different ways of beating people and getting the things that he's doing at youth level and whatever. Now, they'll get tighter, they'll give him respect. It's the consistency over the years.
That's the thing for a striker, I always thought, for a striker. It's that second year when you're not a surprise element no more. People know what your tricks are, they know what your first thought is when you get the ball. Can you then develop new tricks to surprise people? That's the difference.
And that's what Harry Kane. Everyone said the same thing about Harry when he came in, started scoring goals. Can he do it again the next year? Didn't start very well. Question marks, bang.
And the other key is not overplaying these young players as well. I think managers are much more aware now, aren't they, with injuries we've seen for players, just not to push them too much too young.
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone's different. Listen, I came through the exact same team as Steven Gerrard. We were 10 years old together at Liverpool and we played in every single team. Everyone knew I was going to make it. Everyone knew he was going to make it at that age, at 12, at 14. But by the time we were 18, I played 100-odd games and he played none. It didn't make me. It just meant that I was at a different rate in my development. He couldn't play in a game without getting injured. But then I couldn't play in a game when I was 28 without getting injured, and he's strolling on winning the Champions. Everyone comes at different times, so it's just the way it is. And that's down to a manager to sort of gauge that with the physios, with the medics, with his own eyes, and just realise, can we play him all the time?
Was you managed right like that? Because you got injuries quite early on.
I always ask myself that question, but when I look at genetically, my dad was a footballer. He suffered terribly with muscle injuries, groins, hamstrings, thighs. My 2 brothers are verging on, sprinters, lightning quick. They, at 25, the same thing. So I don't think it's I overplayed. I just think it was genetically we were so fast that it's just.
I can't imagine your dad ever being fast when I see him. Sorry, Mr. Owen. Sorry.
Unbelievable. Look, finally, before we move on from Ben Woodburn, you've seen so much of him in the youth teams at Liverpool. Are we getting overexcited here, or too overexcited here, or is the excitement in the right place because he is special?
What we're doing is, he's very good. Yeah, he is good, and I can get frustrated when someone says, "Oh yeah, he scores on his debut," and everyone says, "Oh, he's an ex-Rio Fern, he's an ex-Glenn Hoddle," you know, and it's just not right. This lad is a very good player, but yeah, we are getting overexcited. I mean, he's played a couple of games for Liverpool and a couple of games for Wales. I mean, we've hardly seen him.
Yeah.
I've seen him because I watched the.
But he's the Prince of Wales already, isn't he? I mean,
yeah,
talk
so
about
we're
getting
getting
carried away.
excited.
Okay, as always, loads of social media chat around the show. Thanks very much for your tweets. Jamie just said, we got a bargain with you, Rio, £30 million and the service you gave Manchester United. What do you reckon you'd be worth today? Don't be modest.
I don't know.
Come on. Yes, you do. You know exactly. You've got a figure in your head.
29?
Yeah. I might have lost a mil.
There's not that many unbelievable defenders in the
with
world
teams,
at the minute.
seriously, I'll come in there. It'd be double that money, because with teams now playing with three at the back, he's made for three at the back. In a back four, with the footballing ability this lad had, you only saw 50% of it because he had to play in the back four.
Yeah.
In a three, my word, he could have come out on the ball. He could have done so much more. He could have done if he was given the opportunity in the street.
Oh, devastating.
It's just the wrong era. Michael says, Rio, you always speak sense. Couldn't agree more. It's disrespectful. Give young players time to show us what they can do. And Matt Stevens, thanks for your message on social media. In today's market, Michael Owen would be worth 250 million.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think you probably would. So modest as well. Look at that cheeky grin.